Ladies and gentlemen, back again with another episode with the Pitchside Podcast. Welcome everyone, wherever and wherever you're watching and hearing this. Before, of course, we dive in, I remind you to always like, comment, share and subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course, enable notifications to receive the latest updates from our podcast. Follow us on the social media, the links will be in the description. And of course, the usernames are on screen on Instagram at PitchsidePod and on Twitter at SidePSP. Now we got that out of the way, let's talk about yesterday's action, of course, the Premier League. The most eventful on Sunday, really, in terms of action. We had, of course, the London derby between Tottenham and Arsenal, the Liverpool-Wolves game, but we didn't get there without having some stops along the way. Before that, we had West Brom facing Crystal Palace, a clear and easy dispatching from the Roy Hodgson boys, 5-1 against West Brom. Who were 10-man since the 34th minute of the game, having a red card near to the end of the first half. That red card, of course, being 10-man, made it easier for Crystal Palace to do the job. Mateus Pereira was sent off in the 34th minute, so it was easy afterwards for Zaha, Benteke and co to take the game by the scruff of the neck and win by a very comfortable margin and a very decisive way. Then Sheffield United made it really hard for Leicester City, taking the lead over them in the Bramall Lane, not taking the lead really, but equalising quickly after the first goal for Leicester by Jose Perez in the 24th minute. 26 minutes in, Oliver McBurney makes it 1-all, and the game was really hard for Leicester to get through. They needed a late Jamie Vardy goal in the 90th minute to save them from another hard trip and another hard match against, once again, a bottom table side. They lost to Fulham last time out, of course, and this time they struggled against Sheffield United, which will not give Leicester fans probably the best of signs as well. Then, of course, we had our North London derby. We had Tottenham facing Arsenal, and as I mentioned, of course, in yesterday's quick reaction to that match straight afterwards, this wasn't pleasant. Not the best thing you could watch from a Tottenham point of view, really. You wouldn't really like the performance from Tottenham. Sometimes you wouldn't like the offensive aspect of it, but it is effective, it works, it brings the results that Jose Mourinho would need. Certainly got him the 3 points. He's still joined top of the table. People are praising him, really. So it won't matter if he's impressive offensively, if he makes 20 shots. Why make 20 shots when you can make 2 and score both? Because literally, Tottenham had 2 proper shots on target and they scored both, which is really a great sign for... it's a sign, as I said, of effectiveness, a sign that Tottenham could do less, actually could do more, from less, which is a thing that, unfortunately, you have to question for how long they would be doing this, really. Are they going to be doing this for the rest of the season? Is it going to be this their motto for the entire season, just scoring from 2 or 3 chances for the entire game? Because the Premier League doesn't have only Arsenal or Manchester City to play against like that. Premier League table has much easier teams, on paper at least, that you can relax yourself and play a bit offensive and be on the attacking front foot. Jose Mourinho seems to like it that way, seems to like playing compact, playing in a good shape, which he does really, by the way. He really displaces his players in a really good way. The midfield players work so hard. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, man, is... the games that he had so far this season against these bigger boys, against Chelsea, against Manchester City, against Manchester United, against now Arsenal in the North London derby, was so physical, so intense, and they were really good. They were really incredibly intense games for him, alongside Sissoko, alongside Ndombele when he was there. Lo Celso didn't have the best game, really. Wasn't exactly on the same level as Ndombele per se, but still, I think when you are playing a defensive game like Mourinho does. You will not exactly need a proper cam, a proper number 10. All you need is someone who can, go smoothly with the ball from the midfield to the attack. I mean, you don't necessarily need a player in the box or hovering around the box of the opponents to look for the right pass. All you need is a good trio or duo in the midfield, depending on the preferences for the manager, and your game is done, and your game is good. For Arsenal, Thomas Partey was not 100%, and probably Arteta knew somewhere in his heart that Partey wasn't 100% and he won't be 100%. So I mean, he took him late in the first half, probably knowing. I mean, Thomas Partey didn't really show much of an injury, but it's clear in his play that he's not 100%. It's clear in his play that he isn't feeling really well, that he isn't feeling good to go. The second goal, I mean, he looked very jaded in the second goal. How Heung-min Son really, just snatched the ball off him and went running, and Thomas Partey, for all the physical specimen that he is, for all the hard work and the great body of work that he put with Atletico, which is, I think, it's a very demanding side as well. It's a more demanding side than Arsenal for sure. So he looked out of depth. He didn't look 100%. However, probably his substitution came sort of good for Arsenal in the second half, because Dani Ceballos gave them more dynamic. For all the bad things of Dani Ceballos offensively, he's at least a good passer of the ball. He can pick the right pass to his midfield compatriots or to the attackers, really, which gave Arsenal a little bit of edge over Tottenham. Although I think it's Mourinho's plan. It was Mourinho's plan, of course, to sit deep and just avoid the pressure from Arsenal. Deserved 2-0 victory for Tottenham, but again, you have to ask yourself, for when? I mean, when is this gonna last for Tottenham? When do you think that Tottenham are gonna be continuing to play this deep line? I mean, it's at certain points of this game, I said it in the review yesterday, at certain points in the game they were playing with 8 players around the box, which is ridiculous to see. Like the visual of 8 players of Tottenham, 4 centre halves, and the 2 midfielders in Højbjerg against Sissoko, and then you have the fullbacks in Reguilon and Aurier, all standing basically at the edge of the box, with only Kane and Lucas Moura being playing up front. It's a weird visual, but again, if it works for Mourinho, he will not care if it's impressive. He will not care if it's eye pleasing. He will not care if it's enjoyable. You enjoy it or not, it doesn't matter. He will just take the 3 points and go. That's what he did, and that's what Tottenham did. They took the 3 points, joined top of the table. They would really like it. Now they are one of the strongest attacks in the league, with as few chances as they can, which is really, really impressive. But again, once more, I would say, for how long? For how long Tottenham will stay playing with this less is more mentality and will not be flexible a little bit and play offensive more often against quote-unquote smaller side, which I don't think that word is rightful, but again, against less capable sides, let's say, of being dominant. Speaking of them being joint table, of course, the other game that was important in that was the Liverpool-Wolves game at Anfield. It was nice to see fans, by the way. It was very nice to see fans at Anfield, even 2,000, even 3,000 fans. It's always good to see fans in the stadium. It's always great to see fans happy to see their club succeed, happy to see their players, seeing proper fan noise. I mean, I got enough, really, of this artificial noise that we see every time I watch a Premier League game on TV. I mean, I probably prefer to watch it, without a crowd noise. I prefer to watch it with the raw sound of players and the ball being kicked in the pitch, instead of this artificial noise that just makes me more sad every time I see it, that there is no fans. Anyway, most of the things I'm going to talk about, I mentioned in the review yesterday. if you want to check it out about that game as well. So I think um, I'm not gonna mention a lot of the same, really. I don't want to be repetitive, although I was repetitive what I said about Tottenham versus Arsenal. But it is the important victory for Liverpool. It is the important job for Jurgen Klopp to do. He really feels like it really feels like a proper happy manager now after a couple of missteps, a couple of hardships in the Champions League and in the Premier League, of course. No VAR weird calls this time, although there was almost one in the first half as Conor Cody went down, demanding a penalty, but of course VAR overturned it eventually, rightfully, of course, because Sadio Mane didn't really touch him. Easy, I mean, not easy, a comfortable win in the end, in the second half in particular, and after the second goal, really, it was Liverpool's game all along. It was it was their game to control, it was their game to dominate. Wolves looked really, weird, looked really weird, again, without Jimenez playing as a centre striker, no focal point. The playing basically with three wingers. Daniel Podence is not a proper striker, he's not a proper number 10. If you watch him with Olympiacos, he doesn't play as a number 9, sorry. He doesn't play as a number 9. There's Yusuf El Arabi, there's Mateo Valbuena could do that job in Olympiacos, but Daniel Podence is none of those. In Wolves, it's the same for him, probably, with Pedro Neto, who's a winger, and Adam Traore. Those guys were playing too wide, just like the wingers from Arsenal against Tottenham, playing really too wide, couldn't really do much, and didn't have enough to show for it, really. An important victory for Liverpool, and for Tottenham, of course, for them to stay joint of the table alongside the Spurs. Liverpool now have the easy fixtures against Midland in the Champions League, and they, of course, will be looking ahead for the next couple of weeks in December. Really, December is going to be a busy month for Liverpool. Next time out, of course, they face Fulham away from home, supposedly an easy game for them, while Tottenham, of course, have Crystal Palace. Leeds United open the fixture on Friday against West Ham. Wolves play Aston Villa. Newcastle play West Bromwich, depending on the situation, of course, with the COVID-19 outbreak at the club next Sunday and Saturday. And we have, of course, the big games between Manchester City and Manchester United, hosting Manchester City at the Old Trafford, the Manchester Derby, big one to look forward next weekend. Everton, Chelsea, Southampton, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Fulham, Liverpool, as you mentioned, Arsenal host Burnley, Leicester City host Brighton. Quickly going through elsewhere in Europe, in fact, nothing big happened really in the other big leagues in Europe. Yesterday in Italy, it was Hellas Verona drawing 1-1 against Cagliari, Roma drawing goalless against Sassuolo, same result for Parma against Benevento. Udinese Atalanta game got called off for bad weather. Crotone lost to Napoli 0-4, really easy win for Napoli this time, just like the one against Roma turned out to be. Sampdoria fought a little bit, good, but in the end they succumbed to AC Milan 2-1. That makes the table stand like this in Italy. Milan 26 points, 21 for Inter, 20 for both Napoli and Juventus. They could have been second if it wasn't for the deduction of points from the league. Sassuolo are 5th now, Roma 6th, Lazio are 7th. In the relegation spots, Torino, Genoa and Crotone. In Spain, moving on in Spain, as I mentioned, Granada drawn against Huesca, surprisingly, missed a draw, aka the luck of the draw themselves. Huesca 3-3, despite Huesca leading 3-1 at a certain point, but Granada managed to make a late comeback, scoring 2 goals in the dying minutes to equalise 3-3. Real Betis had an easy victory against not an easy victory, but they left it really late, till the 77th minute to open the scoring against Osasuna, 2-0 away from home. Villarreal drawn against Elche, and top of the table Real Sociedad, formerly top of the table now, of course, relinquished their lead to Atletico Madrid after drawing against Alaves, last time winners against Real Madrid. The table stands like this: in Spain, Atletico Madrid 26 points, Real Sociedad 25 points, 21 for Villarreal, 20 for Real Madrid, 18 for Cadiz, 16 for Sevilla, Granada with 15, Betis with 15, Barcelona at 9th with 14. It is sad to see that, really. And the bottom spots, of course, Osasuna, Real Valladolid, and the drawing boys themselves, Huesca, which is weird considering that they all had like 7 or 8 draws already from 12 matches in La Liga. In Germany, it was Werder Bremen versus Stuttgart. Stuttgart finally were back to winning ways, defeating Werder Bremen 2-1 away after 4 draws and a loss against Bayern. They finally defeated Werder Bremen, and in the other game, Bayer Leverkusen, as we expected, took the second place after defeating Schalke 3-0 in a game that was good from Schalke, really, but again, they're hapless at the moment, they seem. The table in Germany stands like this: Bayern Munich 23 points, Bayern Leverkusen 22 at second, Leipzig third 21, Borussia Dortmund looking like they're going to be drifting away, aren't they? 19 points at 4th, 18th for Wolfsburg at 5th, 6th for Union Berlin 16, Gladbach doing well in the Champions League but not in the Bundesliga, 16 at 7th so far, Stuttgart 8th, and then you go all the way to the relegation spots. In the playoff spot, Arminia Bielefeld, Mainz and Schalke, unfortunately, are the relegation battlers at the bottom of the table. It's Monday, and it is, one day ahead of the Champions League fixtures, of course, tomorrow. Big games awaiting in the Champions League, of course. Let's quickly go through what's going to happen. Of course, there's going to be 2 early kickoffs. Both Group F games, of course, are going to be played in the early kickoff. Lazio are going to be hosting Club Brugge. Zenit will be hosting Borussia Dortmund. In this group, I think everything is settled, really. Everything is settled. Borussia Dortmund are top of the group. Lazio are behind them 1 point. It's not going to matter because both are qualifying, really. But pretty much both are qualifying. I almost made a mistake there because Club Brugge still can do it. They still can do it if they defeat Lazio. Lazio need, of course, only a draw to win. Any other result, losing basically, would mean that they're out. Borussia Dortmund through. They need a draw to guarantee. They need to win to guarantee the top of the table. A draw to seal the deal and still qualify. In Group E, Rennes hosts Sevilla, Chelsea hosts Krasnodar. This group is all about the Europa League spot. Who's going to be, really, because the first spot, I think, is Chelsea's. Sevilla need a big margin of win to, Sevilla cannot be first, even if they are winning against Rennes. They will not be first because of the head-to-head competition against Chelsea. In Group G, of course, Dynamo Kiev versus Ferencváros, Barcelona versus Juventus. But even the Barcelona-Juventus game, as important as it sounds and as marketable as it sounds, with the Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi confrontation, it really pales in comparison to the big game, really, on Tuesday. RB Leipzig hosting Man United in Group H, of course, while PSG host Istanbul Başakşehir in the same group. Big game for RB Leipzig, big game for Manchester United. Certainly both sides are on a good course of run in their respective leagues, really. You look at Man United's recent form in the Premier League. They've been really doing well, I would say. They had, good results in terms of their Premier League season as of late. They are on 4 wins on the bounce after a loss against Arsenal. For Leipzig as well, they are heading into this one with the good form in the Bundesliga, despite drawing, of course, the last game against Bayern Munich. But they are also had undefeated for the last 4 games or so, and they entered this game with a big ambitions, aspirations. There's a lot of anticipation for RB Leipzig and Manchester United for this game. A lot of anticipation from German media, of course, for them and for Borussia Mönchengladbach. For Julian Nagelsmann, this is a big game. This is a decisive game. He needs to win. He cannot afford to draw. The draw is not going to be doing him any good, really. For Manchester United, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, this is the test. This is the ultimate test for how calm, how cool, how stable can Ole Gunnar Solskjaer be, how well he can manage his side, how well he can take his side in the Champions League. Not a lot of absences for United. They're only missing Fred and Jones, Cavani probably, Luke Shaw still on the shelf. There's questions over De Gea starting, but I'm sure he's going to be probably 100% by tomorrow. For of course, Leipzig are going to be missing their biggest name probably now, the defender, the French dude Upamecano, Conrad Laimer, and Lucas Klostermann are going to be missing as well from in the defensive aspect of the game. So you expect probably it will be Willy Orban starting alongside Ibrahima Konate in the centre of that defence. They have they have the ambition, Leipzig, and they really have a big ambition to qualify for the next round, to not have a worse season than the last one, because semi-finalists of the Champions League, who impressed everyone by their tactics, by their good will of play, by their offensive style, very impressive, even though in principle, RB Leipzig are hated in Germany because they are a money team, quote unquote. And also, between quotes, of course, Julian Nagelsmann is bashed always for his fashion choices, but again, the club's doing well, they're playing well, they're impressing, they're making good results, making great strides in the Bundesliga and in the Champions League. So this is a big game, this is a bigger game for them. Surprisingly, I would say that it's a bigger game for Leipzig than for Manchester United, because for Manchester United, if they lose and they don't qualify really, it won't be a disaster based on the last couple of seasons. Historically, yes, it will be a disaster. Historically, it will be bad to see United not qualify the round of 16 of the Champions League, but there was seasons where Man United didn't even qualify for the Champions League, so you don't really have to paint it as the be-all, end-all. For Leipzig, it is probably. Because for Leipzig, considering the last couple of seasons of achievements, they would think that they have a good chance, and they have, in fact, a big chance in taking on Manchester United. For United and for Solskjaer, yes, it will be, a troll sort of material for years to come, probably, but still, Man United, I would say, squandered their chance against PSG. They should have qualified there. They missed a lot of chances. They were the better side. PSG were not the best side, and they weren't against Leipzig as well in the game before, but they still got the 3 points out of both games. This is only the second game between these two sides. Of course, the first one was Man United trashing Leipzig 5-0, and trashing doesn't give the game, I think, its rightful reading, really, because the game was far more balanced, I think, and maybe even Leipzig had far better chances and far better possession and far better domination periods in that game than the score might suggest. Overall, I would say that Leipzig need the win. They are, the more ambitious side, I would say, quote unquote, not underdogs. That not underdogs that much. I mean, they are a very strong squad, a very strong side, but they are the more ambitious side to win, probably than Manchester United, who will need to play the right chess moves in order to win and in order to guarantee the best result they can. Of course, a draw would give them the advantage in head-to-head competition over Leipzig and would give them the qualification, but they want top of the group because PSG, on the other hand, are going to be playing Istanbul Başakşehir, a quote-unquote much easier game, at least in theory, because Istanbul Başakşehir have played really well. They really messed up the order of the group when they defeated United in Turkey. We all thought that they might be themselves proper contenders to qualify for the next round of the Champions League. So that's it, I think. That's all I had to say, really. We're going to go more in depth into that game probably tomorrow in the podcast before the game. As I mentioned, Paris Saint-Germain face Başakşehir. Of course, a draw would do them wonders. It will qualify them over both Manchester United and Leipzig on top of the group, because they are ahead in the head-to-head matches between them. That's all for this episode. Remember to like, share, comment on the YouTube version, subscribe to the channel, of course, enable notifications to receive the latest updates from us. Listen on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other listening platform you want to use to get the podcast from. Join us for more. Follow us on social media. The links will be in the description. On Instagram at PitchSideboard, on Twitter at SidePSP. Until then, I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and until I see you tomorrow, goodbye.